Welcome in the latest episode of the Ben and Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, real_G Warner. Recording this a little bit later than I meant to, but it is Sunday, June 28th. We are recording this for the knockout rounds. We're finally here. 32 teams have advanced from the 48-team field. Of course, you could speak forever and ever about the perfect setup and the perfect everything that Gianni Infantino screwed up by adding a bunch of different teams, but here we are. We're doing it, and we've got more games to bet on. So let's go find some winners. The South Africa-Canada match is about to start, but we'll be going through all the other games. Went under in that South Africa matchup, if anyone is looking to make a bet in the next 6 minutes. This is my first time looking at a bunch of these numbers, so I'll be jotting them down as we go. Of course, anyone that comes in, there's some questions in here, tell me some leans, all those sort of things. Again, we went South Africa under 2.25 goals for our first bet of the knockout round, since that game starts in just 6 minutes. Sorry to those of you that are going to hear this on the upload tomorrow, but we're only missing one of the 16 matches. So say la vie. We'll now start, I guess, the next with Brazil and Japan. Brazil currently minus 275 favorite to advance. I will go through the two advanced numbers as well, because I think there's some money to be made in those lines of work. It was actually Brazil minus 285. So we've seen some money coming in on the Japanese so far, which is a bit surprising, I think, just because based on name value, though you could argue that this is the weakest Brazil has ever been in a World Cup year. So usually they're the favorite to win it, and they're certainly not this season. I think they're fourth or fifth most likely to win. But a drop of about 4%. Japan down from 240 to plus 230. And now let's get into the spread and such. So looks like the market is currently dealing Brazil and Japan under 2.5. Looks like the number minus 122 to under. So that's pretty expensive. Might be falling towards 2.25 sooner rather than later. It actually has been. So initially saw minus 125 on that under. So there's been some movement, I guess, towards over. A lot of overs so far in this tournament. As for the side, we have Brazil a 3/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice on the Brazilians. We saw this at a half of a goal earlier, but it was a really expensive half a goal favorite. So it's a more reasonable number, I think, right now. This is a noon kickoff on Monday, June 29th, Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm pretty interested in Japan. I would love to get a full goal of insurance. It looks like we could get there, would be my expectation. That's what I made the number. I made it 3/4 of a goal, but I always have a bias to a free insurance goal on a single goal loss. Japan, there's been more goals scored in their games. Brazil's offense is certainly great, though a lot of their offense came from Scotland making mistakes in that final match day 3 matchup. I think from a Japan's perspective, I mean, they're going to compete. We know they're going to work hard. So under 2.5 looks interesting to me. Not as interesting as the side. I would love to get a +1. I would love to get 3 as a total, but that seems like pretty far-fetched at this point. We'll move next to Germany and Paraguay. This is a 4:30 Eastern Time start on Monday, June 29th. The Germans currently minus 600 to advance, which is a sizable number, to say the least. But, that's, I guess, how things go. Minus 600 on the Germans, Paraguay plus 460. So that's a pretty, how do I put this? It's a pretty big gap, to say the least. I mean, I don't really trust the Paraguay side at all. I mean, I bet against them, bet Austria against them. Paraguay did very little offensively. It's amazing that they're in this stage of the competition. This should be a walkover. So let's get straight into the numbers, as I'm not going to spend too much time on the side there, most likely. So let's get this going. So original number, we have Paraguay. So I initially made them a 1 3/4 goal underdog with a total of 3. I imagine that might be a little bit low in the total. Let's see. So currently it's priced at 1.5 goal underdog, so a little value to me on the Germans, minus 110 on the Paraguay side. Total this one is actually 2 3/4 right now, just a little bit more to the over. So that tells me that there's a little bit less respect for Germany scoring goals in this matchup, I think, at this point, minus 104 to the under. I don't know that I necessarily feel great about the Germans so far this campaign. Really fortunate to beat the Ivory Coast after trailing throughout, lost to Ecuador after taking a gift early lead that should have been annulled for an early goal for a foul, because you can't kick people in the face, but FIFA just has no spine, or the refs seem to let everything stick. For me, I think at this point, I don't know that there's a lot I want to do with this matchup. Biggest interest is probably under and seeing Paraguay just defend for their lives, but I don't really love that setup because that's not really what I'm hoping my sides to do, to put it that way. We'll move to the nightcap on Monday, and that is a 9 p.m. Eastern times kickoff, 8 p.m. Central time. That is Netherlands and Morocco, which is a great battle. And honestly, it's going to be pretty tough to see who can get through that matchup. The Netherlands currently minus 170 to advance, which is honestly fairly cheap. That's actually where it was initially. So we've seen, I saw it initially on, it looks like the 25th of June. So no movement just yet. Morocco coming back plus 150. And they've been honestly not really respected a lot by the marketplace, but have been great. Made it to the semifinals in the last World Cup in Qatar. And some are saying, oh, it's because they are playing at a place that they're familiar with, because they are Moroccans and that's another Arabic-speaking place, but they're not there anymore and still are playing really, really well. It gave Brazil all they could want, all they could handle. So spread in this one, currently the Netherlands a minus 1/4 goal favorite. We saw initially Morocco a half a goal underdog, but very expensive one after initial movement. So we're continuing to move in that direction at this point. Plus 104 on the Moroccans, though. So that probably is going to move around between 1/2 and 1/4. In terms of the total, looks like 2.25 is a current number, 2.25 minus 108 both ways, which I think is basically one really offensive team like the Netherlands and one very defensive team like the Moroccans. And I like the underdog and I like the under in that matchup as well. We'll next move to June 30th. Happy birthday, Alex Hubbard, longtime friend of mine, roommate from college. I'm not sure if you're listening. Hopefully you are. But we'll move next to the Ivory Coast in Norway. This is actually a game at noon, local time, Central time, 1 p.m. Eastern time in Dallas. And I'm going to try to find a way to go to it. So if anyone got tickets there or wants to take me for all the podcasts that I've annoyed you with this year, let me know. Or actually for the last like 6 or 7 years. Currently, Ivory Coast plus 161 to advance, Norway minus 181. So certainly more expensive on the Norwegians. In terms of the number on this one, let's see where we're at. We are at the Ivory Coast underdogs, of course. They are currently a half a goal underdog with all the juice right now, minus 122. As for the total, we have 2.5 minus 106. And the interesting thing here is that the Norwegians decided to basically punt their final group stage match against the French and played all backups. It didn't go very well. Missed the penalty with John with one of their backup strikers. I'm losing his name right now at the moment. But it's like one of those things where I was going to say Striger Larsen, but I feel like that's a different name from a different time and more of a defender. It's some hyphenated combination, and I'm going to find it because I can't let that go. And that is a really poor penalty was taken by Jorgen Strand Larsen. It's not Striger Larsen, Strand Larsen. There we go. But should be back to Erling Haaland to take those penalties coming up. And honestly, the Ivory Coast, I think, are really talented, but it's more a defensive team. Norway, a great offense. So those are two things that go in opposite directions. Again, I love the idea, the mix of kind of where these teams want to be. I think I'm more concerned about Ivory Coast scoring on Norway, though Norway's defense. I don't think that what they performed or how poorly they were playing against France really means that much, but I do think that there is some creaking in that back line, and I think they could be exploited. I don't know if Ivory Coast wants to do that, but Amad Diallo is certainly someone that could do it. We'll see if Elliot Wahi is still playing with his match fixing allegations. But this is an early start. Don't expect much of a crowd presence for the Norwegians have been all over the United States so far. So that's probably the only way it would be some sort of advantage. Not a huge one, but some to the Norwegians in Dallas. We'll next go to, looks like we'll go to France and Sweden. Let's see. Let's go France and Sweden. Currently, the two advanced number. France are pretty big favorites, to say the least. They are currently minus 750 to advance. Sweden plus 550 gives them a very, very low probability that they will actually survive here. But you never know. That's why they play the games. In terms of a spread, I imagine it's a lot bigger than the one I was expecting. Let's see. So France currently a 1.5 goal favorite with all the juice. Wow, that is enormous. And I'm a little bit surprised it's that big. Total is 3, just very heavily to over, minus 124 currently. So probably have some 3.25s out there as well, and some 1.75 goal underdogs on the Swedes. Yeah, Sweden 1.75 minus 112. It's a really big number for France. I wouldn't, that Norway game, I think you throw out, but I think there's still plenty of problems in France. So they've looked great so far this competition. I can't, because there's nothing you can do to slight what they've actually achieved. In terms of the total, I think I'm less interested in under here, which usually means I want to skip the underdog as well, because that's not really a good combination if I'm not believing a lot in the road team or the underdog to defend. But to me, I think there's some value in going against France because they're forever known as the best team, and I don't know that they usually play like it. We'll next go to Ecuador and Mexico, a really tough spot, but honestly, Ecuador is just happy to be here at this point. Currently, the Mexicans minus 175 to advance, plus 155 on the Ecuadorians, which is an El Tri versus La Tri. What a great matchup to see if it's masculine or feminine, I guess, at this point, the 3 colors. But Mexico, I mean, they are a favorite, but not a huge one considering they're playing in Estadio Azteca for this one, I believe. Total right now is 2, just very heavily to under. I don't want to lose that. And Javier Aguirre unders should be undefeated so far, if not for a stoppage time goal in match day 3. And honestly, they looked so bad. Mexico did against a pretty average Czechia side, and then everything went to something in a hell in a handbasket. It's a better, more child-friendly way to put it, though this is a gambling show, so I guess I don't need to be that concerned about cursing or things like that. But Ecuador currently a quarter goal underdog in a really tough place to play. That's probably too small of a number for me, but definitely lean to under 2. That's a very low number at this point. Moving out to Wednesday, we have 3 matches on Wednesday, and then 3 on Thursday, 3 on Friday. Wow, just so many matches all the time. It's a great summer here, especially if you want to make some bets. We'll next move on Wednesday to England and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Hopefully those of you followed along with that, with a big winner on the Congo to advance. Got a little bit scared when they fell behind Uzbekistan, but all good things, they don't always go easy, I guess. But England currently a minus 775 favorite, plus 575 on the Congo, which might be the biggest number we've seen so far. It is, and that's a lot because Congo didn't really expect to score goals. They did find the net 3 times against Uzbekistan. Doesn't say that much, honestly. This is a really tough matchup. England, to me, is forever overvalued, but they are extremely talented. 1.5 goal favorites are England, so somehow it's cheaper to bet France to advance, though more expensive for them to cover the spread against Sweden. So that says something to me. Total in this one is 2.5 right now, just almost all the way to over 13 of the 16 cents. 1.5 is the spread on the Congo. I think I'm more interested in backing the Congo under than I am, because I just don't know how much they'll score. I think they'll defend, and we probably see a very similar game to what they played against Colombia. But at this point, I guess I'm free from my bet on the Congo. Love them, of course, forever. But I think at this point, their defense is what got them here. They're going to literally rely on that until they're eliminated from this competition. And oh my God, I can't tell you how happy it would be if they somehow find a way to eliminate the English. Next, we'll go to Senegal and Belgium. Senegal, incredible that they're still here, but that's what happens when you take your chances and feast on the worst team in your group. Currently, Belgium minus 180 to advance, plus 160 coming back on Senegal. Total in this one is actually, so we'll start with the side. So Senegal, a quarter goal underdog with all the juice on Belgium, so likely moving to a 0.5 goal favorite. Total this one's 2.25, juice very heavily, minus 122 to under. And I've been against Belgium and side and total under, betting against their goals all campaign. Honestly thought we might get a 3-1 and escape with a half win and a push in Friday night's late night matchup with New Zealand, but New Zealand couldn't hold on, and honestly they are terrible and probably deserved what came to them. With that said, I'm looking to be against Belgium as much as I can. Senegal is honestly a great defense that hasn't played that way, but Norway and France can score on anybody. So those are, I think, 2 great spots to potentially jump in. This total is really small, but I think it correlates very well with the game that I expect the Senegalese to play. Now we'll go to looks like the United States and Bosnia-Herzegovina. We'll start with, yes, that is on July 1st. So initial number, Bosnia was a 1-goal underdog, and the total was 2.5. For to advanced number, it was initially minus. We've seen this one climb quite a bit, as I think you'd expect in a home World Cup. But the U.S. has moved from minus 425 all the way to minus 575 to advance, plus 431 coming back on Bosnia. So that's a 26% jump from the initial number. That's huge. And then about 20%, because of course there's always a margin, but 20% up on Bosnia. And honestly, I think Bosnians are very, very good defensively and are going to make it hard on the U.S., who did rotate quite a bit, but I think we're also a little bit inflated on their expectations based on their really bad group. This is 7 p.m. kickoff time in Central Time, so 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm pretty interested in Bosnia at this point. I know everyone says I'm a U.S. hater, but I'm just trying to make you all some money, I promise. And honestly, a single goal loss is still a USA advance, and you cover the spread with Bosnia now 1.25 goal underdog up from that +1. So I see no reason to get involved here. I'm going to keep waiting. Also would like to see this total climb because it looks like it is destined to head toward 2.75. So just going to wait and see and get ready for some potential movement. Next, we'll go to Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time with Spain and Austria, as I wear my Österreich t-shirt from Vienna, actually. Currently, Spain minus 900 to advance. There we go. There's the most expensive we've seen. Austria, who I've been very unimpressed with this competition, they're plus 640 to advance. That's a big, big number. As for the spread and the total, so we've got Spain a 1.5 goal favorite right now, minus 107 to the Austrian side. As for the total, we got 2.5 juice, minus 112 to over, minus 104 to under. And that feels like a really low total for me. But Austria, I mean, they're going to counter press, gegenpress, and that's going to be the way they try to find goals. Unfortunately, if Spain can pass through it, which I expect they will be able to, then they're in big trouble trying to keep this a low-scoring game. So that's another really tough spot, I think. Sound check good. Thank you, Anderson Hernandez, always showing up for me. I appreciate that big time. And I guess I don't have the mic today, so probably sounds worse, but less issues of muting potentially. I think we'll move now to Portugal and Croatia. Let's see, we got Croatia to advance. They're probably pretty fortunate to be here as well. Portugal are big favorites, and they are minus 260. Croatia plus 220. And honestly, this is not the strong Croatian side that we've known for years and years and years, but they're here and they're in the competition, so who knows? We'll see how long they last. With that said, I'm very interested in fading the Portuguese, as they really have not looked good for years now, versus how looked like the best national team in the world heading into, I think, the last Euro and the last World Cup, and things have really not been the same. Right now, the side is 3/4 goal, very juice on the Croatian side, and then the total right now is 2.25, juiced very heavily to over. So another really small total. We're seeing, I mean, I expect over money to come in because these numbers are really small, but they're small for a reason because the knockouts are very conservative football. And I think we will see that in that opener that just kicked off a few minutes ago. Last on Thursday, we get Friday card, get an ultimate best bet, and then get out of here. On Thursday, we have Switzerland and Algeria. Currently, Algeria, they are underdogs to advance, I suspect. Switzerland minus 210 to get through. And I really like the Swiss. I hope they can get through here, and then they can cause some problems later on in this bracket. Algeria plus 180 to get through in terms of the side and total. Currently, Switzerland half a goal favorite. Algeria minus 103 on the half a goal spread. Total in this one is 2.5, just very heavily to under minus 129. So it's probably 2.25 is more realistic number out there across the marketplace, and that is under 2.25 plus 105. So to me, Algeria I think is really talented, but they've just not really had as much success on any sort of like big time level. I gotta say, like I was expecting a lot more out of them probably in a lot of places, especially in the AFCON. Thought they might even be a team to win it. Pick them in the once the knockout draw was out there, but they've kind of not been. Goals have been a problem for them. Defense has been a little bit weak. They don't really have. I mean, Isamandi is like their longest tenured player, and he's like really struggled to do well in top football in Europe. So, and when he's your stalwart back there. That's a big concern, I guess. But for me, I think there's still some value potentially in going against the Swiss as favorites, just because I don't know that I trust them to score. Bosnia match was pretty ridiculous. Yes, they scored a bunch against Canada on the road, but I just don't think Canada's very good either. So we'll see. This is a potentially a step up in class for Switzerland based on a really weak group they were playing in. But you could say similar things to Algeria, though I thought they were very much in the match with Lionel Messi and Argentina until really the refs did them no favors, did a lot of favors for Argentina. And possession was about equal when Algeria was down 1-0. The second half went about as poorly as it could. But I'll lean to the side, half a goal underdog, and would like to see that climb a little bit higher, which it may. And the total 2.5 feels a little bit low to me, but certainly that would require a decent possession game from the Algerians, and I think they can do that against the Swiss. Next we'll go last match day, and then we'll get a best bet, and then get on to the first knockout match. It's already 14 minutes old. We'll start with Austria and Egypt. This one also in Dallas, and of course is at noon. Or excuse me, 1 p.m. Central Time. Yippee. Austria, they are Australia. I'm wearing an Austria t-shirt and just spoke about them on the last match day or day of games. Australia are plus 125 to advance. Egypt are minus 145, which is very, very disrespectful for the Egyptians, who I think are much better than the Australians. I think my numbers would be way off here. So current number total is 2 minus 125, which is extremely low, but it's probably a number I want to take before we lose it. And as for the spread, we have Australia a quarter goal underdog minus 126. I mean, there's a lot of love right now for the Egyptians, or excuse me, for the Australians, and I don't agree with it at all. If Egypt fall to a pick 'em at a reasonable price, I'm very interested in backing them there. Minus 145 currently, so it's probably lower than I want. But I mean, that's something. And I got to say that I don't know where the love for the Socceroos really comes from here. Next, go to Argentina and Cape Verde. Here's the most enormous of the two advanced numbers. Argentina minus 2,000 US dollars to win 100. Cape Verde on the other side, they are plus 750. So there's an example of the margin that unfortunately some sports books take. Spread right now is Cape Verde a 2-goal underdog. They are minus 102 right now, minus 114 on Argentines, and probably means it climbs. Total is 3 in this one, minus 117 to the under. And I think my biggest interest here is seeing a low-scoring game. I think the Argentines are going to dominate the money. I'm sure there'll be over money coming in, eating up that plus 101 currently. But Cape Verde has been great defensively. That's what got them to this tournament, and I don't think that changes. At least that strategy won't change, certainly, against the defending and current World Cup holders. Last but not least, Colombia and Ghana. Colombia, a minus 400 favorite, which is saying something because we're right in a game with Portugal, but missed a lot of opportunities to score, take the lead and win and take all 3 points. They're great in the group, won the group, and that's certainly important to them. Ghana plus 320. You could say a lot about them, but ultimately conceding, I think, 2-headed goals to Croatia is certainly not exactly what you're looking for, to say the least. Currently looks like total in this one is 2.25, minus 116 to under. I like under there, as I'm not really a believer in the Colombian offense at this point. Spread is currently Colombia 1-goal favorite, minus 120 on the Ghanaians. So I think there's some value here on under and also on the underdog, because I just don't really trust the Colombian offense. Yes, James is great in World Cups, but it's been 12 years, I think, through 4 of them since he was really, really good and got the Real Madrid purchase. So to me, I don't know that I really believe as much in that setup, unfortunately, or fortunately, however I should say that. There is, I think, some potentially great opportunities to go against some teams that I think are overvalued in this competition. And that certainly is one right there that I feel very strongly about. Now, for ultimate best bet portion of the show, we've certainly got all the way there. Went through all the matchups in this knockout round of 32. We'll be doing more episodes, of course, the rest of the tournament. You can follow us at patreon.com/thereal_G-Warner for all my plays, leans right across all sports, including a big baseball Sunday. But then if you want more of this podcast, and make sure you get subscribed to Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, it's called Betting the Pitch on YouTube and on Instagram at @thereal_G-Warners, where you can find all this content, including the ultimate best bet that will turn into a quick clip or a YouTube short or an Instagram reel I don't think I did that for match day 3 because I completely forgot about it, but my bad, everyone. I've been fighting E. coli for a long time after my trip to Mexico to the World Cup. So I appreciate your patience and dealing with me through all of that. Of course. For my best bet, ultimate best bet on this episode, I think we're going to go and wait a long time. Wait as long as you possibly can. I think it is Colombia, Ghana. Let's go with the Ghanaians +1. Bet the Black Stars. I think the +1 is a great value. I don't really believe in the Colombian offense. And then I'll do it for this episode. I'll see you all next time on the Betting Pitch Apple Podcast and on Spotify. Leave 5-star reviews, leave a comment. I'll talk to you all soon.